Good evening and welcome to episode 2 of Upon Further Review. Ray Halbrook here from Livestream STL. Hope everybody's having a great evening. And we're going to bring in our panel with us here. Matt Bates in the middle here and Jeff Whitener. Gentlemen, how you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Matt?
Well. Yeah, awesome. They're both doing well. Love it. And we hit week 2. And a lot of interesting games that have arrived, and some come from behind wins, some blowouts. You name it, we've seen a little bit of everything in week 2. And we're going to go ahead and throw up here our week 2 results. We're going to go through them real quick here. Valley Catholic 48, Festus 20, Herculaneum 22, Fredericktown 14, St. Pius 47, DeBerg nothing. Jefferson 35, Cuba 8, St. Vincent 36, Scott City 32, Grandview 32, Bayless 30, that was a good one, Crystal City 40, Louisiana 20, St. Genevieve 83, and Afton 36, Hillsborough 47, Cape Central 7, North County 36, St. Clair 32, Seckman 69, and U City 6, Lafayette 42, Fox 7, Sullivan 38, DeSoto nothing, Parkway South 32, Northwest 7, and rounding out things, Windsor 28, Perryville 7. Gentlemen, as we take a look at the schedule here, maybe a game that kind of jumps out at you there. I guess let's start with our game of the week here, the Valley Catholic Festus game, and any surprises on that particular that score?
As the score goes, no. To see Valley victorious by 28 doesn't really surprise me. Mm-hmm. That I like to get Jeff's take on this as well too. But I'd really like your take, Ray, having been there, because it seems to me Valley, if they want to pick up the tempo, they can play that with anybody. If they want to slow it down, if they want to chew clock, they can do that. It seems like either however big or however small the school is, whatever the speed tempo, it seems like they can manipulate, take control of whatever pace tempo of the game they want to take. I'd like to hear your thoughts, Jeff, and then again from Ray, since he was there covering that live.
That classic Valley Judd Nager coached football team. You're absolutely right. They can dictate the style and pace of play, and they can do whatever you want to open up the game and have a high scoring, high aerial attack. They can do that. They can match whatever team's strengths come in against them. They can match it if they want, or they can just play their style of ball however they want. It's a sight to behold. I'll tell you. I'm almost surprised that Festus was able to hang 20 points on them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with that a little bit to an extent. I mean, I think Festus did have some things that they were able to build upon. They were able to score quick at times, and a couple of long passes that they were able to connect with. And I think that was a big key and something that they saw, and they hit that 2 or 3 times. So they knew they couldn't do it on every down, but when they thought they had a chance, was semi-successful. On Valley's side, I mean, you guys are exactly right as far as the dictatorship. I mean, they dictated the game, didn't allow much to phase them, even though they did get beat a couple of times deep, but ball control when they needed to ball control. I think that happened a little bit in the second half. Spread things out, and then they just dictated. And so I think that was basically the name of the game and the key to success for Valley. Let's move on to one of these other games here. Matt, any of these games here that just kind of jumps out at you?
Well, I think I'm going to piggyback off of what Jeff had said last week about one of his games. One of his picks to click was going to be the Herky Fredericktown game, and I think after catching that after some of the notes about that game, because I totally agree with Jeff when he had just said, let's see like another week, because the 6-3 loss to Grandview, then, let's see how week 2 shapes out. And quite honestly, um, I think the way things have turned out, not to digress real quick, but I think Fredericktown is kind of like smoke and mirrors. Like they could easily be 2-0 after the game they had this past week against Herky, just as well as they could be 0-2 as well. Only beating Jefferson R7 6-3 in that first week. But with Fredericktown being up 14-6, taking that into the fourth quarter, you saw when Herky tied it up with about 4 minutes left to go. I mean, they had to go for 2 to tie it up. They did that, and then to turn around, put the ball in again with about a minute left to go, I think showed the resiliency of that Herky ball club. And looking at some of the stats for the week, we're daring, only threw for about 50%. But the fact of the matter at the end of the day, just Fredericktown everybody had their chances to put the ball in. There was a number of drives that teams had within the 10-yard line, couldn't do it. So I think it's a testament to some of the defenses to show resiliency, but to put up 14 points in the last 4 minutes when you had virtually kind of like a slip shot offense going, it was kind of hit and miss. And I think to be able to show that resiliency to pull it out at the end, I think really made that a great ball game, and then to see Herculaneum go up, to 2-0.
Matt, when you look back on this game that Herky just had against Fredericktown, this is a game that you would have during the course of the season that you really look back to as possibly a turning point, not only for your season and the success that you have that year, but also for the entire organization. Now, this is a team, Herky, in the past that probably down 14-6 in the fourth quarter, quite frankly, could have folded. And you're right, they showed that resiliency, and the fact that they came back. This week 2 win was much more important to them than their week win against Windsor. They've got all kinds of momentum and confidence now going into their game against Jefferson at home, and they certainly have placed themselves because of their work, and they've put themselves right in the driver's seat here for this game Friday night.
Agreed.
One game real quick, Jeff, I want to get your thoughts on real quick is the Soto at Sullivan game that was played on Thursday. And I think this was something we were maybe just off the air chatting, conversing about. But because this game was played on Thursday, and I think you had brought up maybe like due to the referee shortage, or there was busing issues with drivers. How many more of these Thursday games do you think we're going to see, and how much of an impact do you think we're going to see with this referee shortage / availability going forward?
Well, it's a problem that's only going to grow in size and scope, Matt, and we're going to continue to see more games played on Thursday nights, more games played on Saturdays. It's interesting, too, because you get into when you're playing on Thursday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights, possibly, you're getting into the same referees that might work middle school or JV games. It's going to be really, really tough as the year goes on. Some of these guys are involved in officiating other sports as well. A little different than the bus issue, but that is another problem as well. We know from watching the news, hearing the reports, schools, districts all over the area are having a hard time finding enough bus drivers. And the example that I use, this Friday night's Jefferson softball game versus Soldan is having to reschedule that game because they don't have any bus drivers to bring the team out Friday night. And of course, we've seen all along the news and media the problems that St. Louis city schools are having with bus driver shortage. But that's something that's a all over problem. That's a problem Jefferson County, St. Charles County, all over the place. So yeah, it's going to, for a streaming company like us and what we do with Livestream STL, it might offer more opportunities for us, but it's certainly going to be difficult on the fans and most importantly, the student athletes that are having to play those big football games during the week.
Agreed.
Well, that's the other part I was going to get at too. So DeSoto loses at Sullivan 38-0. Coach Woodland after the game had talked about how there was like no tackling, no sustained blocks, guys playing 3 out of 4 downs instead of all 4. as a player, former player, having your game move from Friday to Thursday, I could see that maybe affecting a few guys. I don't know as far as like drinking the whole punch on something like that to say that, the game being moved from Friday to Thursday affected the whole team. Or was this just a matter of DeSoto playing a little more stout competition in Sullivan than like Bishop DeBerg on week one?
I think that the latter is the case. I think DeSoto is going to have their issues this year. Much stouter competition than playing DeBerg in week one, and Sullivan's a really decent team, larger class team, and yeah, it's going to be a challenge for DeSoto moving forward in the rest of this season.
Awesome. Let's move
Ray,
on.
have we heard of any other games for like this upcoming week or anything that might have been moved to a Thursday or a different day yet?
Nothing that I've been told or seen out there throughout the schools. So as far as I know right now, everything's still the same for Friday nights, and we'll have that. We'll have the week 3 matchups here in just a minute. Let's talk about the Seckman U City game. Seckman comes in, having the rough game against Valley, but was able to turn things around 69-6, I believe that was that score there. And just a heck of a game out of Cole Rubel, 173 yards on 8 rushes, 4 touchdowns. I mean, can this kid be stopped other than by Valley? It seems like. I mean, Valley's a team of a complete monster of different than most any school in the area here. But I see Seckman's going to end up having a pretty good year this year. What do you think there, Jeff?
Yeah, they can't help but have a great year, much like Derek Williams was for Windsor the past few years. Cole Rubel, he's not a one-man show, but he is at least half the show. And right now, he is accounting for over 49% of the total yards on the Seckman Jaguars offense. And as you said, Ray, can anyone stop him? Even Valley really couldn't stop him. They contained him in that game, and there was just some mistakes, some turnovers late as Seckman was trying to get back in the game that they capitalized on. So even the vaunted Valley Catholic defense had a hard time containing Cole Rubel, and I don't know that anyone can contain him.
I was looking at some of his stats here, and I think as we kind of again piggyback off of Festus putting the 20 up on Valley, I think was just as impressive that they were able to put up 36 on Valley, even though it was week one. But you have Cole rushing for 277 yards against Valley in that first game. And then talk about dynamite in a small package. 8 rushes, 173 yards, averaging almost 22 yards a carry, on top of going 3 for 4 with 72 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. That's
crazy.
Again, a lot of work in a small amount of time, and then to throw 69 up on U City. So, I mean, you would have to believe Cole didn't play the whole game. Could have done a lot more damage in what would appear to be like the limited amount of time he was in there. That is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I think I would agree with it's not just a one-man show, but definitely half of it, and that is an impressive half of a show there. Especially if you're a Seckman fan right now.
Hey, we're catching up here with Coach Nick Baer from the Seckman Jaguars. How you doing, Coach?
Great. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. And just wanted to catch up with you, talk about last night's game here. Big win over U City. Cole Rubel, 173 rushing yards on 8 carries for 4 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns passing as well. Some notables rushing-wise. Tommy Gabar, 4 for 57 and a touchdown. Brady Ambrose, 5 for 112 and a touchdown. And receiving-wise here, Anthony Westervelt, 2 receptions for 61 yards and a touchdown. Had a great night there for the Jacksonville. You might as well have played like the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Seckman
Right.
Jaguars. And, elaborate from the game last night.
Yeah, offensively, we were really just able to kind of come out and impose our will. Cole had 8 rushes. He scored on 4 of them. Didn't take a lot of hits last night. And, we were able to have the opportunity early in the game, put the ball up in the air and complete a few passes, which is always good. It's something that we're continuing to work on at practice. And then, as we got to the later part of the game, some younger guys got some carries. It's good to see Tommy Gabar get comfortable back there at running back, as well as Brady Ambrose breaking one loose.
What is it like having the luxury of a quarterback that can put up not only just the big passing yards, but the rushing yards as well?
Yeah, this is our third year with Cole starting, and he's kind of picked up right where he left off, and it gives us an ability a lot of teams don't have. I mean, he runs a 4.40, so if he gets a sliver, if one team doesn't hold their run fit, I mean, he's gone. And last year he had 17 touchdowns over 50 yards or more. This year he's already got in the first 2 games he's got 6 or 7 over 40. So we haven't really had to grind out any drives yet, but he just has that big playability.
Any big injuries from the last 2 games here that kind of hampered anything with the Seckman Jaguars?
No, thankfully we've been able to come out healthy after 2 games. We've made some personnel moves, different positions here and there, just based on what we've seen on the film and how we can be, playing our best football in November. And this week, especially after giving up 61 to Valley last week, we really put it to the defense, challenged them. Hey, go out there and get it done, impose our will. And last night they pitched a shutout until they scored a late touchdown.
Who you guys got next week?
We're playing Northwest, a big rivalry game here. And they're Class 6 school just like us. We always play them tight. These games are always close, no matter what the records are, and we know they'll be ready. Always big, tough, physical team.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, we appreciate catching up with you, and good luck to you next week.
Thank you.
That is Nick Baer from the Seckman Jaguars. And we are back with our second portion of tonight's Upon Further Review here. We're going to continue to talk about the Week 2 results here. How about that bottom score there? Windsor 28, Perryville 7. Great win for Coach Funston and the Windsor Owls, and kind of turning things around from Week 1 over that Herculaneum game. But Matt, your thoughts on that particular game?
Well, first of all, Anthony Fletcher, who at least for this week, those results, was your number 9 passer in the area. Again, dynamite in a small package, 6 of 8 for 174 yards, 2 TDs and an interception. And of those 6 passes that were caught, A.J. Patrick turned in the number 3 performance of the week with 3 receptions, 137 yards and 2 TDs. So looking at a Perryville team that has now only scored 1 touchdown in 2 games, it would just seem on paper that the way this turned out, that Windsor took care of business, did what they needed to do, and are going to, I guess this is going to be sort of like an identity going forward, at least a good tune-up, because next up for them is Bishop DeBerg, and then they got DeSoto after that. So I think Windsor going to 1-1. This is a good tune-up for the next couple weeks.
Agreed. Jeff?
The most interesting thing to me about that game was the fact that Perryville was up 7-0 at halftime of that game, and Windsor came back, had a strong second half. I'd love to know what Coach Funston said to his Owls there at halftime in the locker room to have them come back. It's a situation right now. Perryville's rebuilding. Windsor lost a ton of players to graduation last year. They're having a rebuilding season. They'll take whatever success they can get and try to build on that moving forward here. Like DeSoto right now, they have their hands full trying to figure out, what their identity is as a team, what their offensive scheme really needs to go. You're plugging in all these new players and you're trying to decide, and you've got a half a summer to do that, and then the first part of the season. I have this talent pool. What offense and defense can I run that will maximize the best use of the type of talents that I have? And sometimes that means changing things up. Sometimes that means returning to basics. And I think, for Windsor right now, they're still kind of in that period of trying to figure out exactly what they have.
Agreed. We caught up with Coach Jeff Funston over his win over Perryville, and here's that interview. Hey, we're here with Coach Jeff Funston from the Windsor Owls. How you doing, Coach?
Doing great. How are you today?
Real good. Hey, an impressive win over Perryville, 28-7. Anthony Fletcher, 6 of 8 for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns. Rushing wise, Jordan Foster, 17 carries, 124 yards, a touchdown. And A.J. Patrick, 3 receptions, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. So a good day for the Windsor Owls. Take us through the game, Coach.
Well, had a bit of a sloppy night with the weather. Could have been a little bit better offensively. We kind of shot ourselves in the foot to start the game a couple times. Had a couple big fumbles early on, gave Perryville some chances, and they're the ones that came down and started the scoring. They scored on their opening drive, and then we kind of settled in after that. Went toe to toe with them for a little while. We were down 7-6 at halftime. And then when we came out, I kind of get the challenge of, we need to start matching some people's intensity when we play. And when we came out of the second half, it was a different ball game. We kind of got after it just a little bit. That's when we started hitting some big plays. You mentioned AJ having a couple receptions for touchdowns. Those were all caught behind the line of scrimmage. He caught 2, little bubble screens and took them to the house from way out. They were both 50 plus, I think maybe even 60 plus on the scoring. And then Jordan kind of got an opportunity towards the end there to put one in the end zone that kind of put it out of reach. And then AJ came on the back end and intercepted a 4th and forever pass where I'm over there on the sideline yelling, knock it down. And he picks it off and runs it back 75 yards for a touchdown. So, tough to be mad at, but at the same time, not something we should probably do every time.
Right. I get that. Let's talk a little bit about Anthony Fletcher taking over for your senior quarterback last season. I'm trying to remember. Derek Williams, that's who that was. And
well, we had Derek. Derek was 2 years ago, and then last year we had Nolan Hurth.
Okay, there you go. Anthony Fletcher, what's your take on him so far this season?
Boy, Anthony really stepped up last night. He struggled in the first game against Herky, whether it was the pressure that Herky was putting on or whether it was just first game jitters. Jamboree is jamboree.
Right.
You get what you get out of it. But when the first Friday night lights really turn on, that's tough on a first year guy. So Anthony had a complete turnaround in game 2 and really did a good job of running the offense. Now, at the same time, we need to work on ball security. He was one of the fumbles that I mentioned earlier, but did a great job. On those passes to AJ, he really made the defense commit to him before he got it out there to AJ, and that's the mark of what we need out of our offensive set and game plan, is making sure that we're taking advantage of every little bit of green grass that we can find. And Anthony did a real good job of doing that last night. He scored a 2-point conversion himself. So he had a good night.
Absolutely. Who do you guys got next week?
We got the Tigers. Festus comes up to Windsor.
Festus, and they're looking for their first win as well. So, what do you think the game plan is on you guys' end to try to not let that happen?
Hope their bus breaks down.
There you go.
No, in all honesty, they're playing a tougher schedule this year. I think they started off with what was it, Valley last night? Valley's Valley, and then what was it? Was it Jackson the first go around?
St. Genevieve. St.
Genevieve. And St. Gen's solid, man. St. Gen's always solid. So they're 0-2, but they're 0-2 against some quality opponents. And as far as we're concerned, they're going to bring a kind of a 2-quarterback system up towards us. So it's going to be, what do each of those quarterbacks bring that we need to stop? And if we can figure that part out, then at least give us a fighting chance for our offense to score some points. And we'll take a look at what that looks like. And our coaches are going through that game film right now. We'll come up with a plan and we'll see. I was telling the guys last night, they're going to be a well-coached team. Coach O does a great job down there, and they're going to take advantage of anywhere he saw that we were weak. So we need to start shoring some things up and shore them up in a quick hurry.
Well, we appreciate the time, and thanks so much. Good luck to you next week, and we'll catch up with you down the road, Coach.
All right, I do appreciate it.
That is Jeff Funston from the Windsor Owls. And we are back here for our third segment. We're going to take a look at the Week 3 matchups. We'll go through this real quick. Jefferson goes out to Herculaneum. That'll be our Friday night blitz game of the week, I should say. Fox takes on Lindbergh. Seckman at Northwest. Grandview at St. Pius. Valley Catholic at Fredericktown. Hillsboro at Fort Zumwalt West. St. Genevieve at Orchard Farm. DeBerg at Afton. DeSoto at North County. Festus at Windsor. Bayless at Crystal City. And rounding things out, St. Vincent at Perryville. Gentlemen, one of those games kind of jump out at you at all?
Well, our Friday night blitz game is certainly going to bring a lot of drama and intrigue. And I think, you guys, familiar with Herky. I'm more familiar with Jefferson, of course. So let me talk a little bit about what I think Jefferson needs to do. And I'll let you guys opine a little bit about as far as what we think Herky needs to do for this game. Herky's going to all the momentum coming into this game, but Jefferson has to feel good about bouncing back. They had everybody back healthy last week. Sam Stokes was able to play against a very physical Cuba team. So it was a good victory all the way around for them, and it was also a good confidence builder for the young starting quarterback Carson Hafner, and only his second game starting for the Blue Jays. First win for new head coach this year, Matt Atlee. I think really the line's going to dictate this game, as lines do most football games. Obviously, that's a little cliche to say, but the offensive line for R7 has to be able to get the momentum to run the ball inside and outside. They showed this last week that they did a good job running the ball in between the tackles with Sean Ussery. He's really the hammer back there at the tailback position for the Blue Jays. But to be able to run outside as well with Sam Stokes, of course, we know Sam from his baseball exploits this summer, and in the spring for Jefferson and for Post 253. We know what kind of athlete he is. But also Carson Hafner, who's got a good set of legs on him. And if things aren't open, if he's getting a lot of pressure in the backfield, he's going to have to be able to take off. Now, on defense, they've got to figure out a way between Nate Breeze, Max Schnitzler, some of these guys that can really, Sam Stokes, they've got to figure out a way to contain Baer. Even if they let him get his catches and he's a big target, they've got to make sure that they keep him in front of him and keep, sort of a bend but don't break style defense. And they have to get a pass rush on Jackson Deering to be successful in this game. So that's
I would agree with that. And then after listening to some of the Fredericktown Herculaneum game, I would say it does. It goes back to Herky was having some issues, and we're seeing this becoming a trend now, which is that center quarterback snap and those shotgun spread formations that seemed to be a bugaboo for Herculaneum, shooting themselves in the foot. And that's what led to the initial safety for Fredericktown, was a snap over Deering's head, went in the end zone, and costs Herky 2 points, and then they got to give the ball right back to Fredericktown. And I don't want to keep bringing Valley up, but when you look at Valley, they play a perfect game. The only team that I think is going to be like a Valley is going to be Valley. So as you try to move along and try to, what can we do for next week? Those little things, turning the ball over inside your 10-yard line, special teams play. Good teams, better teams are going to make you pay for those mistakes. And I think if you're Herculaneum this week, you got to tweak some of those little things, because again, as you move into conference play, some of these tougher games, Jefferson, they're chomping at the bit to put the hurt on somebody as well too. And with Coach Atlee getting his first win, I'm sure he's, no pun intended, flying a little high, spreading his wings a little bit. So this is going to be a tough matchup, and I got a feeling if you don't play a perfect game, you've got to be able to do that in order to at least try to be more competitive, and instead of putting more pressure on yourself, which would lead then to more turnovers and sloppy play. But I think on the Herculaneum side, you got to figure out how to stop Deering and Baer, because if you can stop Deering, put pressure on him, keep him in the pocket, put a body on Baer, get him off the line, something like that, because the kid is just a catching machine right now.
Agreed. I'll tell you, the big thing that for me is kind of the momentum. Coach Blaine Boss talks a lot about the momentum here, and they haven't beaten Jefferson since 2015, so it's been a little while. I think they feel like they might be due this year, and I think they're going to try to use as much of that momentum from both of these first 2 weeks of wins, especially this past week with Fredericktown, to be able to take that into week 3 and say, you know what, we're gonna wipe the slate clean. We're not even going to take a look at the situation that we haven't beaten Jefferson since 2015, and we're just going to come in and try to play a different and new Black Cat style of football against Jefferson. So I think that's kind of the MO from Herky's side here. So let's move on to maybe one of these other games here. Jeff, you got a game over there that you like?
Well, the game that really catches my eye this week is Bayless at Crystal City. Crystal City 2-0. They were able to beat Louisiana last week pretty handily at home. They've got another home game here against a Bayless squad that has shown some life. They gave Grandview all they could handle last week, and they've got some pretty good skill position players out there that could make a big difference in this game. So I'm really interested to see how this one's going to go. I want to give the edge to Crystal City because they're at home, but I would not be surprised if there was an upset here.
Very interesting.
Mr. Jeff, this is why we don't share our picks to click beforehand, because that was literally the game I had inked on my schedule as well. You got a Crystal City team. How many times have we talked about Crystal City being 2-0? Not only that, scored 83 points after 2 games and have only given up 20 points. And I agree also I think with that being a home game bodes very well for them as well too. Let's make it 3-0 now in our own house and keep the ball rolling. So I would agree too. I think my pick to click game for the week is going to be that surpriser, which would be the Crystal City Bayless game. And I would say to cover like a couple games in one shot here, I think it's going to be identity games for DeSoto. And I also think for Festus as well too. DeSoto 1-1. They've played the yin and yang. They beat DeBerg 42-12, but they lost to Sullivan 38-0. So this week you got a game at North County, who's beat Farmington and St. Clair. So North County's 2-0, going to be hungry at home. But I think it's a big game for Festus at Windsor, because you got a chance to break your, get that Valley game off, or you're going to see maybe a carryover effect from that Valley game. But I think this week as they play Windsor, who, like I said, is going to be a good tune-up game for them because they got DeBerg and DeSoto. Windsor could possibly be looking ahead to DeBerg, seeing that they might have a relatively easy win on their hands. This could be a big game for Festus to step in, break the 0-2, and look to go to at least 1-2, get that first win of the season.
I would not want to be the Windsor Owls facing the Festus Tigers this week, even at home.
Yeah, I would have to say the same thing. They're definitely going to be hungry and wanting to feast on some owls. I'm sure of that. But and to tell you the truth, it's not a problem. They haven't had a problem putting points on the board. If you're putting 20 points on the board against Valley, that's still not bad. It really isn't. And I believe they've stuck 35 on St. John. Festus just had a bad draw their first 2 weeks, and they you run into a couple of freight trains from St. Genevieve, one being the Dragons from St. John, and the other one's being from Valley at St. John. So it just kind of is what it is.
Speaking of St. John, Ray, can we talk about how good, very good the St. Genevieve Dragons might be this year? We don't normally talk about St. Genevieve much, in this area, but they are playing quite a few teams up this way this year, and boy, they've gotten out to a great start, and they are just whooping some teams right now.
Absolutely.
You can't deny the 83 points they put up against Afton, much less to hear that they put 70 up in the first half.
Yeah.
That and you obviously you're going to have a clock running in getting into that situation. So, 119 points scored by two teams in one game. I mean, that is crazy offense as much as it is crazy defense or lack thereof. And that's
exactly.
Yeah. Talk about a team to just kind of keep on your radar, because if you've got them on your schedule, which Valley does on October 7th. So just kind of highlight that one, if you will, in the meantime.
Right. The Battle of St. Genevieve County is going to be a great game this year.
There you have it. Awesome. My pick to click game, I'm kind of interested in this Hillsboro-Fort Zumwalt West game. Don't know a whole lot about Fort Zumwalt West, but I know Hillsboro, always with their run game, they are always taking a look at, trying to give that ball control. And I'm just kind of wondering if Fort Zumwalt West is going to give them, any kind of run for their money in week 3 here. But, Hillsboro definitely has gotten off to a great start. And, you got Romaine and you've got Jackson Patterson, and you don't need much more than that in the run game because they're two of the best.
I've been approached by a couple of different people independently this week, wanting us to get Hillsboro on their radar. Some longtime Hillsboro fans telling me this is the most dominant Hawks team that they've seen in quite a long time. And I agree with that. Of course, this is a great team, and I can't wait for their matchup with Valley either.
Hey, it is time for our Upon Further Review Player of the Week. We have Cole Rubel here from the Seckman Jaguars. How you doing, Cole?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good, man. I want to talk about the last couple weeks here, week 1, week 2. You had a real tough task with Valley 2 weeks ago, but actually you had them on the ropes in the third quarter, and last quarter kind of got away from you guys. But let's take us through just maybe up until that third quarter, how well things were going for you against Valley.
Valley's a great team. Obviously, they're definitely the team to beat, but we had a few mistakes going into the first and second quarter. Pretty big mistakes actually. Not holding blocks, and just not being physical. And but I think once we started to do those things and fix those mistakes, that's when we started really capitalizing off their mistakes and all that.
Well, and definitely, you reverse the game this week here, 69-6 over U City. Had a pretty good day there for yourself in the office. 8 rushes, 173 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 of them passing. So it seemed like just about everything was working this week. Take us maybe through a couple of plays or a couple of spots in the game that you felt were key.
In the U City game?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Definitely the 80-yard touchdown. Everyone they did their job. No one tried to be the hero of the game. It was just they had an assignment, and that's what they went to, and the play worked out.
Beautiful. Well, and 69-6. Did you get to play all that entire game?
No, I was taking out the second quarter.
Oh, well, there you go. How about that? So, I mean, this season being your senior season, I'm sure there are some goals that you're kind of taking a look at, and I know that you've been kind of seen by a couple of colleges, three colleges here, been offered had some offers from a couple of them. Take us through maybe that process a little bit this year in your senior year. I know that's it's important to try to find the best school that suits you, but take us through maybe a few of these schools that are giving you offers.
I went to the SEMO camp in July, I believe, and I really like the school there. The campus is nice. Coaches are awesome. Players are awesome. And their offense is definitely my kind of offense. Just getting to the outside and seeing what you can do. And the experience of going to those camps and everything, it was pretty cool. I went to Michigan State, and just that experience was awesome.
Yeah.
Especially going into my senior year and all that. So.
Yeah. Well, I know that not only whoever you decide to go with, you're not just getting, you're getting kind of that double barrel, getting rushing, probably more rushing than passing it the way things look right now as far as your stats are concerned. And you like to roll out of the pocket and take it up the middle or take it wherever. It seems like that's where you're getting a lot of your ground your ground yardage. What do you think that attributes to?
Man, that's a hard question.
Put you on the spot.
It definitely opens up our offense more. Me rolling out, it makes people think that we're going to run the ball outside again, or we can really give it under, pass it to our wide receiver, Anthony Westervelt. Just with that, there's a lot of things you can do that can make our offense very deadly from all that. From rolling out into staying in the pocket.
Awesome. Well, you're the player of the week, and we appreciate the time catching up with you, and good luck to you the rest of the season.
Thank you.
That is Cole Rubel from the Seckman Jaguars. That was our player of the week, Cole Rubel. And gentlemen, tell you what, man, just a top-notch kiddo. And
when you talk about Cole too, it's important to talk about. Yes, he's a great athlete. He's very gifted. He's a hard worker. But when you look at what big schools are looking for to bring in when they recruit, they're not just going off of talent. There's plenty of talented players off there. You're looking at overall academics, and you're looking at character. And this young man's got everything across the board in spades.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Cole is your area leading point getter. 8 TDs on the year, 2 2-point conversions, and there's only 2 kids in the area that have 50 points or more total scored, Cole Rubel and Lucas Baer from Herculaneum. So he is really bringing it and all that in spades to what he does on and off the field, and kudos to him and continued success. But it just can't get that lost, and keep doing what you're doing. I mean, only 2 games head into week 3, so just like I said, keep your head down, keep doing what you're doing, and after the stats that he's put up, again, like only 8 carries last week, and still averaging about 16, 20 yards a pop. I mean, that is impressive stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 458 total yards in 2 games, Matt. That's just astonishing to me.
Great stats there, boys.
Some work done.
Yeah, great stats there. Well, I think we're about out of time here, and we're going to wrap things up. And thanks so much for checking out our episode 2 here of Upon Further Review. For Mr. Jeff Whitener, Mr. Matt Bates, and myself, Ray Halbrook here, say so long. We'll see you Friday night on Friday Night Blitz with all of us here, and on live stream STL. We'll be live from Herculaneum as they take on the Jefferson Blue Jays. We hope to see you then. Thanks so much for watching Upon Further Review.